Good afternoon to you all. I hope you hear me. Do you? I'm a little bit alien to this conference since I'm not in Pragmatics.
Alien to this conference.
No, but it's an act of love. I'm not alien to my good friend.
You're not the norm, but
I see.
you're near the Shua.
Fine. We formed an old friendship from Ben Gurion time when we were two young scholars, and our friendship is still strengthened all the time, and it goes even to the next generation. Yeah, the third one too, right? Since our two daughters-in-law found each other in New York and became soulmates, without knowing about our relations. So thank you, Rachel and Shula, for asking me. I'll put this here. For asking me to talk here, and I had to give a title. I had to give the title long ago, and I was sure I would take some of Elda's papers titles, but I wanted to tie them to my interest. So the result is interpretation clues, which is hers, a poetic semantic view, which is mine. And I'm glad that Tali and Galia mentioned Discourse and Weizman's old paper, and very famous and very important one, because I'm going to dwell on it. I taught it very extensively in the 8 years I taught in the department that Ed is now chairing. So this is a schema of the paper, the very famous one, that we should find cues because of gaps and mismatches. And cues can be shallow and can be deep and can be internal and external. They can be extra-linguistic and meta-linguistic. And I would try to do it with two relatively easy cases, but then we'll go to the riddle that is really a problem for me, which solving it was like a wow moment. And I hope our German friends will find the solution even earlier than me and us. It happened. I didn't plan it. This is a very old poem. And for the Hebrew speakers, ידידי השכחת חנותך בן שדי. Erotic, right? And it takes time to understand that this is not an erotic love poem. It's written by Yehuda Halevi. But the question is, when does this cue emerge? My love, have you forgotten how you lay between my breasts? Then why have you sold me forever to my enslaved? Did I not follow you through the barren land? It's a quote, maybe we start to understand, but it could be poetic still. Let Seir, Paran, Sinai, and Tzin be my witnesses. We start to suspect. What do they have to do with lying on my breast, right? There my love was yours and I was your delight. Then how can you now bestow my glory upon others? I am thrust into Seir, driven towards Kedar. I think this is the most important clue, because Seir and Kedar are very common names for two nations, for the Christians and for the Arabs. And so it's the whole analogy, allegory between God and the people of Israel. And they all know from the interpretation of the Song of Solomon. And the deceiving first line is like a counter cue. I mean, it leads you to one direction, but then you have to reverse the whole thing. But still, the impression of this erotic and very, very intimate connection still remains, even when you reinterpret it as a national, religious, whatever. And it's still sung in synagogues until today. So this is another one, an easy one, perhaps by Yehuda Amichai. I say it in Hebrew first and then in English. היה לך צחוק ענבים. And metaphor is one of my subjects, and when you combine tzchok and anavim, grapes and laughter, it doesn't combine very quickly. It produces a mismatch. And metaphor is about mismatch and about incoherence that has to be solved. You had a laughter of grapes, many laughs, green and round. Your body is full of lizards. They all love sun. flowers grow in the field, grass on my cheek. In Hebrew, it implies to alu asavim bilchayai, which is a common idiom that says something is impossible until grass will grow on my palm. Okay, whenever, right? It's a very against hypothetical. And he says, alu asavim, not they will grow, but they did grow. Flowers grow in the field, grass on my cheek, anything is possible. And Amichai gives us the permission to read the poem not the way it is written, but in another way, through semantic fields, grapes, lizard, laughter, summer, passion, love, and possibility. So the mismatch, the original mismatch, is in a way finds its coherence when you read the poem, not horizontally, but vertically. But this was easy. Now we are going to the real. Now we are going to the real riddle. For a long time, I'm very much into Leah Goldberg. And for a long time, you have, on one side it's the English and the other side the Hebrew. There is in her collected poems from 59 a connection, a series of 4 poems called Mishirei Hayona VeHashoshan, Songs of the Dove and the Lily. It is combined of 4 parts, as you see. You can look at the Hebrew for the Hebrew speakers, and the others can look at the English, which I bothered to translate, and I try to be loyal even to the rhythm and rhyme. It bothered me, this incoherence and mismatch of these 4 parts, because first of all, what is the connection between a dove and a lily? And I asked people, very knowledgeable people, and didn't get an answer. Is it a symbol? Is it something that is in somebody's minds or culture or tradition put together, Yonah and Shoshan? And it bothered me, so I decided this would be the real mismatch and incoherence which I'm going to probe with you. And I think the solution is very interesting as well. And there is a solution. Part A and D have to do with the poet's feelings. She's yearning for a dove of light, and she's not very sure that the dove of light will arrive. Yonah Tamar, I couldn't translate Yonah Tamar, so I took the other thing, dove of light. And the last verse, at the D, at the 4th one, it says, ירדה מן השחר כיונת האור, איילת השחר נושאת במקור. The dove is finally, after a sleepless night, comes with this morning star in its beak. Okay, so A and D are coherent. They have to do with the dove. But then we have B and C. B, that has to do with 2 roses grew in one field, and one plucked the one, and the other is broken-hearted. And perhaps you remember a song, a very popular song, Shnei Shoshanim, until there was a hand that came and plucked one of them, and the other one is left broken-hearted. So maybe it's a clue, but what does it have to do with the dove? Excuse me? Well, okay, you can do all kinds of association, but it doesn't emerge, not very quickly. And then, to add a riddle on a riddle, the second part of the second part, a bee appears, a bee and a honeybee, and something, נסעה הדבורה לכוורת הדבש. A riddle upon a riddle, incoherence upon incoherence mismatch. So we have to look to extra linguistic or extra literal clues. But then I forgot, for a long time I forgot that there is a C. Why did I forget? Because, you see here the dove and the rose or the lily. I forgot that there is a C part because Argov, whom is one of my favorite composers, composed only A, B, and D. A year after the poet died, there was a program, Nesi'a Meduma, and Argov composed many of her, some known and some unknown poems, And this is one of them, and I knew it for a long time, and it bothered me. What do the roses, the broken heart rose and the bee have to do with the dove and the morning star? No answer. And there were other two composers that composed, which I learned just recently, that composed the poems. And Nahum Heyman made it very easy for himself because he composed only A and D, only doves and nights and light and yearning for the light, for the morning, which is fine. And I don't have time, but I might just sing for you the beginning. How does it start? ברוח 40 אדמה הקמה, הקמתי אלייך יונה תמה. And he composed it in 1980 for the Festival of Oriental Music. And he said that it was like a Ladino poem. But he overlooked the roses, he overlooked, which I forgot, the number C. So then there is another composer which I very much love and admire, but he composes lieder. His name is Yechezkel Brown, and he's a very, very good composer, but very hard to sing. I'm not going to dare even try sing. But he composed all the four of them. And it added a problem, because number C kind of echoes Songs of Solomon. לאן הלך דודך יפה בנשים? Where have you, beloved, why did he run? And הרואה בשושנים, the one who feeds on roses. A small clue that connects number C with B. Not very helpful. And then at the end of number C, there is another quote. 7 שנים עבד אהובי עבורי את אבי. My beloved have worked for me 7 years. And in the 7th year, he betrayed, another clue with the betrayal of the plucked rose. And in the 7th year, he betrayed and loved another, which is the Rachel story, but in a way distorted. So you could see the connections, but no answer yet. Yearning, anxiety, sleeplessness, the dove and the lily, betrayal, abandonment, broken heart, the one who feeds on roses, betrayal again, still no answer. Beginning of clues, interconnections, but no answer. But there is an answer. Here you see, I'm a good friend of Gidon Tikotsky, who is the expert of Leah Goldberg and works in the publishing company that published all her works. And I asked him, do you know anything about connection between a dove and a lily or a dove and a rose? And he said, no, I don't know, but I can give you just the date when it was composed. And this was the first clue, first external clue. And it's very interesting. Leah Goldberg was a poet, but also an editor of a supplement, a literary supplement to a, I think it's Al Mishmar, to one of the newspapers. And the date, Mishmar, it was Mishmar, before Davar. And she was also a theater critic, and she was a very, very interesting and very fruitful person. But the date made me in awe, left me in awe, because it's Erev Pesach, it's Passover evening, 1948. Imagine, Passover evening, 1948. The British are almost leaving the country. There is already a war up there in the Galilee, as you know from Netiva Ben Yehuda's works. And she is interested in doves and roses and the one who feeds on, and it's very interesting. How? And she is one of the editors of this supplementary. So this was the beginning of another reason. Why in this time of the year, writing in this situation, political situation, why write something that has nothing to do with whatever is going on? And the answer is a poet has his own schedule, has his own interest. And in another paper of mine, I wrote about a poem she wrote 13 years later when she turned 50. And then also she disguises it with the cup of Elijah waiting in the Passover, and then there is a line that says, כבר 50 שנה לא בא הנס, אבל אתה אינך רוצה לשמוע. It's 50 years already and you don't want to listen. So this was another clue. April 23rd, a month before she turned 37, and 8 April, a month later, 13 years later, before she turns 50, she writes things in disguise. But the question is, what does she cover? What is the disguise? And the answer came very, very interesting. You see, her birthday is on May 29th. And something, I don't know why, I had this idea to write a dove and a lily, not in Hebrew, but in Google, in English. And the answer came. Leah Goldberg studied in Germany. She read German poetry. She had a profound knowledge of Western classical music. And I see Anita laughing already. Do you have something to say about the dove and the lily? No. But you'll see in a moment. In a moment. And she was befriended with many Yekes, with many German people in Jerusalem. Aryeh Ludwig Strauss actually appointed her as his successor as a professor in the university when he got ill and died. And she was a friend with Agnon, another Galician, Yeke, German origin, very famous author, Gershom Scholem, Buber, and Avraham ben Yitzchak, whose real name is Sony. And she wrote a memoir, a heartbreaking memoir after this person died. He was, I think, over 20 years older than her. She admired him. She wrote a beautiful memoir about him. She thought he was a wonderful poet, although she was a big poet herself. But she admired him, and in a way, I think, and not only me, she was in love with him, a very platonic love. And so we combine May and the German culture and the dove and the lily and the rose, and what we get is Dichter's Liebe, the poet's love, by Heine, composed by Schumann. Poem 1 says the beautiful month of May, which is approaching, it's the end of April, and the month of her birthday. And poem 2 again, but then we come to poem 3. The rose, the lily, the dove, and the sun. I once loved them all, and I'll let you hear it in a moment. Here you can hear it. I hope you can hear it. Just a second. Here, it's here. So the rose, the lily, the dove, the sun, I once loved them all in love's bliss, loved them no more, I loved only the small. Actually, it's the love of a poet, right? And what I want to claim that under this disguise by Heine and Schumann, I'm finishing in a moment, by Heine and Schumann, she disguises what really bothers her. And even the addressee is written there. The dove and the rose, the lily, the taube, the zone. And the name of the beloved is Yitzchak Zone. So you see how the riddle, and what I wanted to claim is that what once compiled as a machinery for text, for prosaic text, for the newspaper, for discussions, can be expanded to be part of a tool for poetry understanding as well. And my dear friend Elda, best of luck, and thanks to you for all this beautiful gathering.